In this video, I'm going to look at a Bose Wave music system, the multi-CD changer accessory, because it's not changing discs and it's getting jammed. There's not a lot of data on these things because Bose tries to keep this stuff in-house, but I'm pretty confident that we'll get this unit working. Coming right up here on Tech Talk. Okay, I got one of these Bose system in for service, and apparently there's a problem with the changer, so we'll see if I can operate this. I'm just going to get out the remote control. I'll try and operate this thing before I take it apart. Remote control still in the original plastic wrap. As I say, the remote controls are all wrapped up still. CD. I only hear one speaker.
Someday.
Eject. That appears to work. Changing disc number 4. How you change the disc on this is just press the CD button until the light lights up that you want. So if I want disc 3, I make the light green, and then I press the play button and it'll switch to that disc. Now the complaint on this was that the CD changer was not changing discs, but in fact it is changing discs. What I have noticed is that I'm only getting sound out of the right speaker. Oh, okay, this time it came up with the disc error. So we have a problem with the disc. We have a problem with the disc changer, so we'll have to take that apart and see why it's not working. These are quite mechanical, so we may have a mechanical problem on here. We'll just eject the discs. Okay, let's take this thing apart and see what's wrong with the changer. Looks like that's what the problem, why there's only one channel too. Take a look here. Looks like one of the pins has broken off of this multi-connector, which is going to be a problem because that's what connects this in the back. It only goes in one way. It just plugs in like that, but sometimes people in a hurry, they don't have it lined up and it gets broken. It's like the stupid S video connectors that were in use. So removing the 4 screws, the top cover should just lift off of this unit. There is a ribbon connector here that goes to the front panel light, so we're just going to disconnect that. Just like that. That way I can work on the mechanism completely separate. We still have to connect this to the main part of the radio, or main part of the deck itself. So I got to bring the other deck back so that I can set it behind it and power it up, because as you can see, it receives its commands over this multi-cable. And what I'm thinking is that the audio lines probably go to these two pins here, and the remote commands that are fed back to this unit from the main radio deck. So let me just grab the main radio deck again, and we'll get it hooked up. Okay, now the unit is connected. I can connect power to this deck. I can just observe what quite often happens on these decks is that these three screws that raise and lower the deck get out of alignment, and this starts going up and down at an angle. That's quite often what happens on these units, and then they can jam up. Yeah, and that actually what it almost looks like it's sloped this way. This one is lower than the others, and it's not reading this disc now. And when it jams like that, if I gave this disc a bit of a turn, yeah, the disc is jammed. So, let's take the disc out. You can hear it. You hear the disc dragging. Hear it? That's our problem. So let's just check the mechanical timing of this thing out completely. Okay, to operate this clutch manually, these gears are locked, but if you release this clutch over here, you're able to turn the mechanism manually and lift and lower the mechanism. And what I want to do is I just want to make sure that it is running up and down smoothly. Aha, you see? It just slipped on this side. So now it's no longer As you can see what's happening here, the mechanism is stuck. This side is not moving with the other side. You notice this? This side is moving up and down with the screw. Now the gear is turning, but this side is not moving. This should be moving down, but it's not. You see, it's broken free. It looks like maybe the maybe one of the plastic pieces on this gear here, over in the corner here. You can see this thing is not. It's not tracking the up and down motion of the gear. So it's either going to be a metal spring or a plastic clip, but we got to get into this and take it apart and see where it's not working. So unfortunately, I got to take this whole mechanism apart, which could be fun. Hopefully it'll go back together the same way it came apart. We'll take out these screws. Screw here. That's why I always film. When you take these things apart, always film it so that if you forget what you're doing to put it back together, you can look back at your tape. Okay, that's the bracket out here. I want into this part here. So I gotta turn this thing around so I can see it. I want to take this other top part of this arm off here. That arm comes out, and this is the piece that I'm interested in. It is not riding up and down. It's riding up and down smoothly, but it's not in the groove of the gear here. That's supposed to clip in there, I think. Like that. Okay, that's clipped in, but this is still not riding up and down the gear, because I believe there's a spring that's not engaging into this worm gear here. You'll see it right here, underneath here. This is the jack that raises, and this mechanism has to sit inside, like the other ones here. This sits inside this mechanism, and it goes up like that, and then this piece closes down over top of it, and it's pinched together, and this clip goes over top and pushes the whole piece together like that, sort of like this, like that. Now this is solid. Now I just have to get the alignment correct so that the whole mechanism is going up and down at the same time. And that's just done simply by pressing the clutch in and rotating the gears to take the mechanism down. And once we are down, we can lift this one out of phase and just turn the screw to bring it down lower. Now if I release the catch and I turn the main gears that bring the mechanism up. We'll see how well it rises up to the top. I think that's what's happened on this plastic piece. This plastic piece that has a hook on the bottom of it to hook this together is springing apart. You see, it doesn't take much pressure to push this apart. It pops apart quite easily, actually. Just like that. I gotta secure this base here. Seeing how it's done on the other sides here, how they're latched in. See how it's secured, because what's happening is this plastic base here keeps coming separated from the chassis, and then it allows the chassis to move down without the top clamp. See, the clamp's on a spring. This is spring loaded, but this keeps separating like that, which it just did. Just did it again. You see how it's popping apart here? This part needs to stay attached, and it's not. And I gotta figure out why. It's either something that's broken or bent. Let me just get my magnifiers out and take a close look to why this keeps coming apart. So I see the problem right down here. If I can get the camera in close enough to show you guys. I don't know if it's gonna focus or not, but there's this turns, and you can see that there's a gap here to allow insertion, and when they put the piece in and they turn it back, it's supposed to lock up against a little plastic tab, and the little plastic tab is broken, so this thing can rotate freely, and when it does, when it gets into that position where the notches are, it just drops right through. So what I'm going to do to stop this thing from turning around is I'm going to put a dab of glue on this little tab here to lock it in place, so that it can't turn. I was going to let that dry, and then I can put the spring back in, reassemble the mechanism, get my alignment correct so that it's going up and down level instead of at an angle, and then I should be able to reassemble the mechanism and see it working properly. Okay, put the spring back in here carefully. Spring goes on top of the gear like that, and then we just set that back down and lock it in place like that. Okay, now all I gotta do is time the mechanism so that it lines up and rises and lowers at the right rate. We just do this by turning them all down to minimum. Okay, now that the mechanism is down, when I raise it, it should raise equally on all three sides. Oops. Well, it would if I had the gears all in place. That looks a little better. We'll try putting some of the pieces back together here. That goes in there with the E-clip. And washer. That's back in place. We have the three washers that go on top of the screws here, and then the mechanism that goes back on. That goes in like that. It's held in place by a single screw. That holds those two pieces in place. I should be able to run the mechanism up and down now. See that it runs smoothly. This is the critical part, making sure that the mechanism goes up and down at the same rate. And that all three elevators are at the bottom at the same time. And then the last piece has to go back in. Make sure that that's in place. And then this piece goes back on top. This is when video comes in handy, you see, if you have to review which way things go in, but it goes in that way, I'm pretty sure. Yep, because there's a lock that locks in here. Okay, that goes in like that. And more screws that hold that in place. All my screws are back here. And then the top plate goes in, I believe it goes in like that. Or is it this way? This way. Yeah, top plate goes in like that. And this lever locks into that like that. These are quite mechanical, so if you're, and I've got to put this underneath here. This goes underneath like that. And then this little piece here sits in there like that. These are quite mechanical, these units, so if if you're going to take one of these things apart, do film it. Put a camera overhead and just film everything, because if you are unsure of how they go back together, you can review it off video. Now, I haven't had to do it on this one, but I have had to review others that I've worked on. When I've taken things apart, I've had to review on other devices. When I've taken something that's very complex apart. There should be one more screw here that goes into there. And it is here somewhere. Where did it go? There's 2 screws here, but oh, you know what? I put the wrong one in here. This was a smaller one. It's the same thread, it's just the larger head screw went here. Okay, mechanism back together. Now we can run this thing through its paces and see how it raises and lowers. Okay, if we look at the mechanism now that I've got it back together, if I press the release and I raise the mechanism up, you'll see that the mechanism goes up evenly, and the mechanism drops evenly. Now, if you're out of alignment ever so slightly, what you can do is you can use a flat screwdriver and just lift up this gear slightly here. Lift up this gear slightly so that it disengages from this one. And that way you can turn this gear manually, and this will raise these 2 up and down. So if you're a little bit off and skew, you can adjust it manually. But I haven't had to do that since I put it back together. Everything looks to be tracking properly, going up and down. So now we can put this thing back into the player and plug it in and load some discs into it and see if it will play without jamming. So to do that, bring the mechanism back again and just drop it in place. It's held in place with 4 black screws. I know someone out there is going to give me a thumbs down on this because I'm working on a Bose, because I realize there are people out there that hate Bose, but you know what? These things are actually quite well engineered, and with metal parts in it, they're totally serviceable. Unlike a lot of crap from the same era, which was all plastic. So I'll give that part to them. And the it's going through its initialization stage here. Okay, let's just see whether this thing actually will do anything now that I've got it ready to test. We'll load a couple of discs and we'll see whether it'll play. Looks like it's playing to me. Let's try the other disc. So, to those of you out there that want to give Bose the raised middle finger for trying to turn out a quality product, I think this is an excellent player. I really do. It's very simple. It's a simple design, and yes, if you know, sometimes things go wrong with designs, but you know what? Of the slot loading mechanisms, this has got to be one of the simplest and most reliable one that I have seen. I mean, Bose sold thousands and thousands of these radios. This is only the second one I've seen. They both had similar problems. I mean, it's both been an alignment problem, and sure, a little piece of plastic broke. This is mostly metal. If you look at a lot of the CD players coming out of Japan or China or Korea, they're all plastic. This is metal. Look at these metal springs in here. I mean, this is something that is built to last. And for the people that knock them, saying it's too expensive, well, you get what you pay for. Yeah, this was an expensive unit, but this thing here is probably 20 years old. It's at least 15 or 20 years old. I'll see if there's a date code on this thing here, but you know, they don't have a lot of problems. And the problems that they do have are usually quite simple to fix. Let's go to the other CD. I forget how to do this. There you go. Now, I have to deal with that other problem. But that wasn't a design problem. That was an operator problem. The fellow that owns this, obviously, when he plugged it in, it broke the pin. You see this, right? Made in USA of domestic and foreign components. And where are the foreign components? Well, foreign components would be things like that transformer. The transformer came from China, but a lot of this stuff was made in the States. You know, a lot of the mechanism was. It's not. They're not bringing everything in. They were bringing the odd parts in and assembling them in the States. I think that they actually did a pretty good job with this unit, despite its high price, and they were expensive. I think these units actually aren't bad, and I've said that before, and I know that I'm probably going to get a zillion thumbs down from the Bose haters out there, but you know what? So be it. So we're just testing the unit here. I contacted the owner of this and let him know about the plug, and what we're going to do on this is he's going to get a hold of Bose and see whether this piece is available. I don't think it will be, but if this piece is available, we'll swap that out. If it's not available, then I'm going to go about and we'll cut this off here and put another plug there and hook up just a regular stereo mini plug on there. But we're going to try and get the actual proper piece for it to begin with, and if we can get one, because it's just a matter of plugging it in, then we don't have to do any modification. So I'm going to finish the video now because this unit is fixed, and if we are able to get the cord, I may or may not make one for swapping it. I think it's pretty obvious what you do to swap the cord. But anyway, that's it. This one's done. I'm going to put the top on it and do one more test when I plug in the front of it, and we'll test it out and make sure that everything is working. So I'm just going to stop it here. So the top cover, just plug in the ribbon cable. Ribbon cable plugged in just like that, and then the top just slips over the top of it. Unit plug back in, goes through its, figure out which discs are installed in it. Okay, play CD. Okay, which one do I switch it to here? Disc 4. Play. If I want to go back to disc 2, I just press the disc button twice and press play. What I'm curious is whether this thing will play a disc that's encoded in MP3 format. That would be pretty cool. This would play MP3 discs. You could put tons and tons of music on MP3 discs. Should we try one? Does anyone want to take a gander as to whether this thing's going to play a CD that's recorded in MP3 format? Here's my Music Bakery MP3 discs, or disc. We'll see if it plays it. I could play this one because it's royalty free, so I don't have to worry about that on this one. Cool, it plays it. I'm gonna go track 193. This is just to show you guys it does play MP3s for sure. Good sound. Okay, that just about wraps this one up for now. And we'll catch you in the next one real soon. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you later.